The thrilling story begins with a man named G, who, after finishing all his office work, was heading towards his friends. All of his friends were sitting in a restaurant planning a trip. After working for so many days, Gu was feeling quite frustrated. That's why he too wanted to go on a trip with his friends to enjoy and relax. Gu quickly reached his friends and said, "I'll join you too." But looking at their faces, it didn't seem like they were happy to see him. They wanted to go alone and wished that Gu would stay behind. Just as Gu happily approached them, one of his companions handed him a letter. This letter wasn't from anyone else. It was a list of help tasks Gu was supposed to do. Inside the paper was a long list of items. So, instead of going on a trip, Gu now had to bring all those things and also take care of household chores. Gu was deeply disappointed because he had planned to enjoy the trip with his friends. But now, seeing this list, it felt like his entire weekend was going to be ruined. With no other option left, a sad Gu walked away. He just wasn't able to enjoy his life. But little did he know that his life was about to change very soon. Now back home, Gu was finishing all the chores and cleaning the kitchen. Just then, he received a call from his best friend Min, who invited him to a dinner party. Gu was extremely happy to get this opportunity to spend time with Min, so he said yes and agreed that they would go and enjoy. Gu quickly finished cleaning the kitchen and started putting everything in its place. While doing that, he found an apple. The apple was completely rotten. But Gu had no idea that there was a strange kind of virus inside that apple. Something that couldn't be seen with the naked eye. He looked at the apple for a few seconds and then threw it into the dustbin along with all the other trash. He had also thrown in some clothes and then, finishing up his work, he left to meet Min. Now, we are shown the virus which had mixed with the trash and was starting to react. Soon after, a garbage truck arrived and carried away all the waste. Then we are shown a factory where the trash was being sorted out. From that trash, anything that seemed useful was used to make animal feed. All the good quality items were directly transferred to a warehouse. In that very warehouse, there were some cows present who were being fed this food. One of the cows ended up eating that infected apple. It was later found out that one of those cows was sold to someone, who then sold it to a restaurant owner at a higher price. The restaurant obviously used that cow's meat to prepare dishes for its customers. The most shocking part was that the restaurant where Min and Gu went was the same one, and they had ordered the very meat that was infected. Gu and Min were sitting at their table, happily enjoying the meat. But just as Gu took a bite, he noticed something was off. When he took it out of his mouth, he was horrified to see that it was a piece of the same rotten apple he had thrown into the trash earlier that morning. Now Gu started to feel extremely uncomfortable. He couldn't understand how that rotten apple ended up in his meat. But he couldn't exactly explain all this to Min either. So, after finishing the meal, he just went out for a walk. There were visible changes on Gu's face, which Min also noticed. While they were walking and talking, two rowdy boys behind them started making inappropriate comments. Gu didn't like this at all, so he went up to them to talk. But suddenly, those two thugs started beating Gu badly. One of them even kicked him in the face, causing serious injury. Min stood there watching helplessly, not knowing what to do. She simply started recording a video of the incident. But then, suddenly, Gu, who was always known to be calm, became extremely aggressive. He immediately started fighting back against those two guys like a zombie. He beat them up brutally and started growling loudly. Min was completely shocked to see all this and recorded the whole thing before running away. Gu was only trying to explain himself to her. He tried very hard to make her understand, but she refused to stop. Gu also started noticing many changes in his body, so he called one of his friends. He explained everything that had happened and how he was feeling. Hearing all this, Gu's friend asked him to come over immediately, so he could run some tests and figure things out. But the two guys whom Gu had beaten up were now getting back up. It turned out that they too had been infected because of Gu. Their entire bodies now looked like zombies, and they had completely lost control of their minds. The two of them started moving in a strange, eerie way and attacked a couple, killing them. This confirmed one terrifying truth. The virus spread by Gu was now starting to spread further. Because of this virus, people were losing control over their minds and turning into zombies. These zombies were extremely dangerous. They could track people just by smelling them. On the other hand, we see Min, who was also now infected by the virus. Obviously, she had eaten the same infected meat at the restaurant along with Gu. This meant that she too was now slowly turning into a zombie. What followed was chaos. Everyone who had eaten that meat at the restaurant began to get infected. People started coming outside, vomiting, and some were getting seriously sick. Slowly, the effects of the virus began to show. Their eyes turned completely white, and they fully transformed into zombies. Even though the virus worked slowly on humans, its impact was extremely powerful. Whoever got infected began turning into a zombie and started attacking normal humans. And if these zombies bit someone, that person would also become infected. This is how the zombies began increasing their numbers within the city. When Gu arrived at a nightclub to meet his friend, he accidentally bumped into a man. Somehow, Gu lost control of himself and bit that man. To avoid chaos inside the club, the security guards threw Gu out. At this point, Gu hadn't fully turned into a zombie. Some of his consciousness was still intact. So he went straight back home and turned on the TV. On TV, all the news channels were reporting that a strange virus was spreading, and because of it, people were becoming infected and turning into zombies. As a result, strict instructions were being broadcast, telling everyone to stay where they were, while military forces were being deployed to the affected areas. The government had started evacuation procedures. Gu, upon hearing all of this, lost his mind and smashed the TV in frustration. He began throwing things around the house in anger and confusion. He had no idea what was happening to him or what he was supposed to do next. By morning, Gu's mom, dad, and sister returned home from a long trip. When they tried to open the door, they found it locked from the inside. So they used the spare key to get in. As soon as they entered, they saw that everything was scattered and broken. They called out to Gu, and he slowly got up, staring at them in a very strange and creepy way. Before anyone could understand what was going on, Gu suddenly attacked them. He killed both his father and sister. His mother was so terrified that she ran into a room and locked herself inside. Her entire body was covered in blood, and she couldn't understand what was happening. Now the scene shifts to the outside world, where almost everyone had turned into zombies. The virus was spreading at a terrifying pace. The zombies were causing massive destruction and ruining the city's economy. They were breaking everything in sight, and any normal human they saw, they would hunt and kill. It looked like half the city's population had already been turned into zombies. Gu, who was now a full zombie, stepped outside and came across Min, who had also turned into a terrifying zombie. Her face looked horrifying, and she was ready to kill and eat any normal human that came near. Now, the story shifts to another universe, where a man named Kyo existed. He worked for a robotics company. His job was to inspect and monitor all the robots built by the company. Many people had purchased robots for personal use, and Kyo was responsible for ensuring their proper maintenance. At this time, Kyo was on his way to a Buddhist temple, as the monks there had purchased a robot many years ago. Despite the time that had passed, robot maintenance was still crucial, and Kyo had been assigned to check on it. Kyo immediately met with a priest at the temple and explained everything, that he had come to inspect and repair the robot. For the moment, the priest assured him that their robot was working perfectly fine. There had been no malfunctions reported so far. But Kyo wasn't convinced, and he went straight to the location where the robot was kept. To his surprise, he saw that all the priests there were treating the robot with an unusual level of respect, almost worshipping it like a great spiritual figure. Kyo couldn't understand this behavior, but he reminded himself that he was there just to do his job, which was to perform maintenance on the robot. Even though the others tried to stop him, Kyo connected his diagnostic tools to the robot and began checking all of its systems and functionality for any errors or anomalies. After a while, the results came in. The robot was perfectly fine. In fact, the robot had already been telling Kyo that there was nothing wrong with it. It said that even if any part of it did malfunction, it would automatically repair itself. Hearing this shocked Kyo a little, because he had never included such self-development functionality in the robot. How was it capable of evolving and repairing itself? Just then, The priests and others around became hostile, saying that Kyo was being too invasive in his inspection. At that moment, a woman named Lin also arrived and insisted that Kyo leave immediately. This robot had become a part of their lives, and no one wanted it to be taken away or tampered with. Kyo was now furious. He worked so hard to maintain and improve these machines, yet the users didn't even want him to fix or update them. Feeling angry and insulted, Kyo left the temple. Their discussion had turned into something much broader and philosophical. Later, back in his room, Kyo was feeling extremely frustrated with his work. Just then, a woman arrived at his home. She wanted him to repair her robotic dog, but Kyo told her that he only worked on advanced, high-level robots, and he didn't have time for basic repairs. Suddenly, the woman burst into tears, saying that the robot was her pet. Kyo couldn't bear to see the woman crying, so he brought her inside his home and began repairing the robotic dog. Many of its storage memory units were damaged, so Kyo removed them and installed new ones. Soon, the woman's robotic pet was completely fixed. But later, Kyo saw something strange through the window. The woman threw the repaired robotic dog into the trash. Kyo couldn't understand why she did that. It was extremely strange. Kyo now had many questions forming in his mind. On his way back home, he remembered the robotic dog that the woman had thrown away. He began searching for it in the trash, and he found it. But unlike other robots, this one was not advanced. So, Kyo picked up the helpless robotic dog and brought it inside. He made some modifications to its system. We are shown that Kyo removed a chip from his own body and inserted it into the robotic dog. As soon as he did this, the dog gained full functionality just like other advanced robots. It could now think and understand. This also revealed an important truth. Kyo himself was a robot. His role was to treat and maintain other robots like himself and ensure their proper upkeep. At that moment, Kyo decided that no matter how much he once hated robots, he would now forget all of that and focus on repairing and protecting them. Even if it took his entire life, he would never abandon the robots. And with that, our story comes to an end.